Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including a new Model 3 leak, updated Cybertruck delivery timing, the Model Y becoming the most popular car, and more, so let's get into it. First up today, Tesla held their Q1 2023 earnings call and announced a few things both in their report and on the call itself. For profitability, they had 11.4% operating margin, a $2.7 billion GAAP operating income, and $2.5 billion GAAP net income in Q1. That margin is notably smaller than the last few quarters, as can be seen clearly in their own chart. Their operating cash flow was $2.5 billion, and for operations, they detailed three big achievements. For the Cybertruck, the factory tooling is on track, and they're producing alpha versions. Then for the Model Y, that car was the best-selling vehicle in Europe and the best-selling in the US as a whole if you exclude pickups. As for their future, they said, as many car makers are working through challenges with the unit economics of their EV programs, we aim to leverage our position as a cost leader. We are focused on rapidly growing production, investments in autonomy and vehicle software, and remaining on track with our growth investments. Regarding their lower profit margins and price reductions, they further added, although we implemented price reductions on many vehicle models across regions in the first quarter, our operating margins reduced at a manageable rate. We expect ongoing cost reduction of our vehicles, including improved production efficiency at our newest factories and lower logistics costs, and remain focused on operating leverage as we scale. The main negatives they mentioned that hurt profitability were reduced ASP year over year, higher raw material, commodity, logistics, and warranty costs, costs of production ramp of 4680 cells, and lower credit revenue. Still, with all of this considered, their finalized deliveries were 422,875 cars, with 412,180 of those being Model 3s and Ys. They have also continued with solar deployment, storage deployment, new Tesla locations, mobile service fleet growth, supercharger locations, and supercharger connectors. One of the biggest improvements I see is in storage deployment, up over 1,200 megawatt hours from last quarter. Of course, the most interesting thing for most people is when will the Cybertruck actually come out? For this, Tesla said Cybertruck remains on track to begin production later this year at Gigafactory, Texas. On top of this, they shared a few photos of the Cybertruck pilot line. We can see the body from the side here, the huge windshield being attached here, and the larger tooling being set up here at Giga Texas. On top of that, they've also been doing winter testing, which is always great to see. Sometimes it's still pretty unbelievable that Tesla plans to ship this car, but Elon reiterated multiple times on the call itself that Tesla plans to have an initial Cybertruck delivery event in Q3 of this year. Specifically, he said it would happen at the end of the third quarter, so that would likely be September of this year if all goes according to plan. From there, the Cybertruck will ramp in an S-curve, and it could very much launch like the recent 4680 Model Y. They did first handovers of that car at their Cyber Rodeo event, but didn't talk about specs or anything until later. Now, a few months later, it is finally available to truly purchase. I imagine we'll see similar with the Cybertruck, but a big difference there is the sheer number of orders Tesla is sitting on. Regardless, they plan to hand over the first production truck Q3 of this year. Overall, Tesla's focus going forward is production. They want to make as many cars as they can, and they're set up better than anyone to do so. However, in order to sell that many cars, they have to drop prices and create demand for them. In the immediate, they're fighting lower profit margins as a result of this by working on cheaper battery sourcing, overall cost reduction in manufacturing, and more. I personally hope that as we proceed forward, this all just means more available cheap electric cars. Tesla has a huge advantage in this spot because they can sell their cars for less than other brands while still making money. And since their cars already use batteries sourced in North America, most configurations of the Model 3 and Y qualify for a full $7,500 tax credit. This is something that isn't the case for almost any other brand selling EVs in the US right now. Next up today, the Model Y is by far Tesla's most popular vehicle, as we saw in their earnings report, but we're starting to see it become a household name like the Toyota Corolla. Back in 2016, 4 years before the Model Y had even entered production, Elon Musk estimated the demand for that car would be between 500,000 and 1 million units per year. Just over a year after Tesla started delivering the Model Y, Elon made a prediction that it would become the most popular car in the world. The Model 3 had already become the best-selling EV in the world, and the Model Y was proving to be even more popular. At the time, many people didn't read too much into this because the Model Y was brand new, but its popularity has been increasing steadily since then. Last year, Tesla announced that the Model Y was on track to catch up to the Toyota Corolla, which had around 1,150,000 sales per year, and it was already the best-selling EV worldwide. Now it's looking like Elon Musk's prediction that the Model Y would take the Corolla's place as the best-selling vehicle overall might actually come true. Elon makes a lot of predictions, and not all of them are accurate, especially concerning his full self-driving timeline and the Cybertruck, of course, among other things. He may be right about the Model Y though. The Model Y is on track to be the best-selling car this year according to their Q1 earnings report. On top of that, Electrek reports that data coming from China indicates the Model Y took the top spot in China in Q1, selling more units than the BYD Song Plus and VW and Nissan's best-selling ICE cars. China is the largest auto market in the world, so this is great news for Tesla. The second largest auto market is the US though, and the Model Y is also beating out top sellers here. We're already seeing it pulling ahead of the Toyota RAV4 and Nissan Rogue, but official numbers will be released in the coming days as to who is number one. Production will not be a limiting factor when it comes to scale. There are 4 factories producing the Model Y now in Texas, Fremont, Berlin, and Shanghai, and between them, Tesla will eventually achieve an annual production capacity of roughly 1.5 million units. That'll outpace sales of the Corolla, so if the demand for the Model Y is there, so will be its deliveries. As of March, it was the 4th best-selling overall, and all things considered, I will not be surprised if the Model Y becomes the world's best-selling vehicle overall in the next couple years. Next up today, we've seen a number of recent updates for the Model 3. First off, we saw Tesla reintroduce the long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3 for business customers in the UK, and that has made many wonder if they plan to offer this configuration again in other markets. Currently, there still isn't a long-range Model 3 available to order on Tesla's website, and Tesla still says it'll be available in 2023. The earnings call passed, and they made no mention of this configuration or any updates to that car. The one thing they did do, though, is lower the price of the other configurations, with the Model 3 now starting below $40,000 at $39,990. This is all coming as we're anticipating the release of Tesla's updated Project Highland Model 3. At this point, I'm fully expecting that update to come in Q3, but we know they're purposely covering up the front and rear of this car when testing. Then last week, we got a great image of what the front of this car looks like. It's definitely taking design cues from the Roadster, but we still have yet to see the rear of that car. Well, a source just sent me a photo from one of Tesla's factories, and it appears to be what the rear of the Model 3 looks like. It's just a part of the trunk lid, but we can already see some differences. I can't show you the photo, but I can describe it, as well as show you a sketch of what it will look like. Here is a very rough sketch of what this piece looks like in practice. It's just the upper part of the trunk, but we can see a big difference here. Comparing this to the old Model 3 trunk, this has an updated, much narrower taillight design, and we can also see that this piece is nearly identical at the top there. Those cutouts are basically the only difference, and they're entirely new for this new car. Not only are those new, but they would fall right in line with the updated headlight design that was leaked last week. As always, take this with a grain of salt, as it's just one body piece that leaked, but it would fall in line with the rumors and latest leaks we've seen on the Model 3. Based on the photo I saw, I believe it to be accurate and definitely be the Project Highland Model 3. The headlights would then extend further into the sides of the Model 3, so keep that in mind, but what are your thoughts on a design like this? If this were to pair with the new Model 3 headlights that we've seen, do you like the design? Leave a comment below to let me know your thoughts. Next up today, Tesla's quote price war rages on and other automakers aren't too happy about it. Last week, Tesla cut Model 3 and Y prices yet again, in some cases up to 10%. Price drops were seen across Europe, Israel, and Singapore, but the largest discounts were in Germany, the Netherlands, and France. Those were equal to about $6,600 USD. Some could interpret these price cuts as Tesla just following through with their mission to accelerate the advent of sustainable transport by bringing mass-market electric cars to market as soon as possible. Other automakers, though, have no choice but to respond to these tactics in kind, which puts some in a precarious position. The CEO of Renault has said they will have to review their worldwide pricing policies in order to remain competitive. He told reporters, quote, "It's clear that Tesla cutting prices is a challenge starting with the cost side of things. It's a warning that we are looking at." Reuters reports that on a separate occasion, the president of Hyundai Motor Group said that Hyundai would not participate in a price war, and that Tesla's cuts reflected a degree of anxiety in the face of growing competition. Tesla's Q1 earnings reports show that they're managing to grow their sales despite the new competition in the market, but it would be naive to think that this has nothing to do with these pretty drastic price cuts. Now, before the competition has even had time to respond, Tesla has cut their prices once again. It's the second time this month, and some Model 3s now start under $40,000 before incentives. The Model 3 standard range rear-wheel drive, which is currently Tesla's cheapest vehicle, saw a $2,000 decrease. It's important to keep in mind, though, that this configuration recently got disqualified for half of its EV tax credit, equal to $3,750 now. This could just be Tesla making up some of that difference for consumers. As for the other two configurations, the Model 3 Performance hasn't had a price cut, and orders have yet to reopen for the long-range Model 3 in the US. The Model Y is a different story, though. All configurations of the Model Y have been reduced by $3,000, and this doesn't quite make sense. The Model Y all-wheel drive went from $49,990 to $46,990. The Model Y long range went from $53,000 down to $50,000, and the Model Y Performance went from $57,000 down to $54,000. That means that a Performance Model Y is now just $1,000 more than a Performance Model 3. All of these Model Ys qualify for the full EV tax credit too, so before state incentives, you can get a brand new Model Y for under $40,000 for the first time in a while. With state incentives as well, you could get that number as low as $35,000, which is insane. I bought my long-range Model Y in 2022 for $59,990 prior to taxes and fees. My only upgrade was the $1,000 white seats, so today that would go for $51,000, a $9,000 difference. And I can't imagine they would cut the price that much if they weren't starting to feel some demand issues. Overall, it's a very interesting time. For recent Tesla owners, it can be very frustrating, but now a bunch of more people can get electric cars. Next up today, Hertz has been a big buyer of Teslas in recent months and years, including their order of 100,000 Teslas in 2021. Overall, they've been performing very well for Hertz, and they continue rolling out their fleet through Hertz Electrifies. The next city they plan to expand to is Atlanta. They plan to bring an additional 4,000 rental EVs to Atlanta, many of which will be Teslas. The others will come from Polestar and GM, but as we know, Tesla is the company that can deliver quickly here. For Hertz, these models will be used, quote, for leisure and business customers, and also for Uber rideshare drivers. They also plan to open up 8 public DC chargers at their locations in Atlanta. This Hertz Electrifies program already exists in Denver and Houston, and the overall goal is not only to bring EVs to those areas to rent, but to build the infrastructure for them. Atlanta's mayor said, quote, the city of Atlanta wants 100% clean energy for 100% of Atlantans by 2035, and public-private partnerships like the Hertz Electrifies Atlanta initiative will help us move closer to our goal. This initiative will help ensure our students have access to a high-growth industry and be part of our green energy future. It's another sign that people want EVs now and don't want to keep waiting for that distant concept car to potentially get released in low volumes. Last up today is some updates from other automakers. Chinese EV maker Zeekr has officially launched their new X electric SUV in China, under parent company Geely, which is also the parent company of Polestar and Volvo. The Zeekr X will be launched first in China and then Europe. It'll get up to 348 miles of CLTC range, or around 226 miles EPA, and will start at just around $28,000 US. It's coming with advanced features like facial recognition and an optional in-vehicle refrigerator. There will also be 3 trims offered, with the cheapest one being a 5-seat rear-wheel drive option. The top spec will be powered by 2 e-motors and a 66 kilowatt-hour battery with up to 422 horsepower. This is the company's 3rd EV and is riding on Zeekr doubling EV sales last year due to strong demand for their Zeekr 001 sedan. They say they'll start delivering this new electric SUV in June in China and aim to deliver 40,000 units by the end of this year. This SUV looks to be competing with the Tesla Model Y and starts around $10,000 lower than it does even with Tesla's lowered prices. Tesla's advantage here, though, will be range. Over at the Shanghai Auto Show, Toyota introduced 2 new fully electric concepts as part of their BZ lineup that will be launched in China next year. The first of these new cars is a sport crossover, and it aims to be a personal space for younger Gen Z customers. It'll be co-developed by Toyota EV Technology Co. and BYD. BYD will most likely provide the model's battery, electric motor, and electronic control systems, as they are with the BZ3. The other concept, the BZ Flex Space, is designed for families with a focus on utility. Its, quote, cozy home design language will have a large, spacious interior, advanced safety features, and ease of use. That one will be produced and sold by GAC Toyota Motor. As with any new concept, we're expecting these to look a lot different by the time they make it to production, but it's good to see Toyota leaning into the EV space at least a little in other countries. They've been a little behind in that regard, and now that their EV sales in China have become disproportionately low compared to their other vehicle sales, we find them partnering with Chinese automakers to try and catch up. Also at the Shanghai Auto Show, Nissan revealed their latest EV concept. Although Nissan was one of the first mass-market EV makers, releasing the Leaf in 2010, it's taken them over a decade to bring their second global EV to market, the Aria, which they released last year and has still been very slow to ramp. Now they've unveiled another one as part of their goal to release 19 new fully electric vehicles by 2030. The Arizon SUV will be built on their CMF EV platform, which they plan to build a wide range of EVs on. The futuristic interior will feature an auto-dimming glass roof and a new virtual personal assistant that can interact with passengers. These features may not make it to production, but the idea that Nissan is working on a 4x4 EV makes sense. So far, there's been no mention that this car will be made outside of China, though. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to see 6 times Teslas were hacked, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.